All right, we already have a couple of people in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our interactive webinar for today, entitled Redefining Success in Tough Times. We prepared this webinar for you as a free resource to support the local community, especially in these trying times. So, we hope you make the most out of this session by staying engaged, as this is not your usual webinar, because we are in this together. My name is James. I'm the Business Development and Sales Coordinator here at Brew Accounting. I'll be your moderator for today. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Joanna Stewart, Director of Brew Accounting. Joanna has a passion for supporting small business to achieve mind freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom. She has worked across the globe, leading large and small finance functions to deliver strategic business goals. She founded Brew Accounting 10 years ago and has gathered an excellent team of professionals together to support you and your business to grow and prosper. We'll also be turning off our audio and video during this short presentation. Now, without further ado, let's all welcome Joanna Stewart.
Thank you so much, James. Fantastic to have you all here. I'm going to turn my camera off while we're having the presentation, but I'll be jumping back on for the Q&A. So it's wonderful that you all have made some time to join us. Today, I'd like to kickstart things with this quote. Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. That's from Winston Churchill. With the current business landscape, we're all experiencing disruption and uncertainty. This is the new norm. As we've all had to adapt, no doubt, there have been a few learnings for us all along the way. A learning is a term we use because our biggest learnings come from our failures. I really encourage you to share in the chat your top learning from COVID-19. This way, we all grow together and inspire each other to fulfill our life purpose. I know for me, my learning has been working all the hours of the day does not bring me fulfillment. Instead, I'm trying to use my energy intentionally to bring balance and fulfillment. Of course, COVID is not necessarily a failure. The issue is that what we've done in the past may no longer be as successful. So we need to respond to those learnings and reconsider what we're doing. Before we get stuck in, I'll just throw in our usual disclaimer that the information in this educational webinar is general in nature and no substitute for tailored advice specific to you. I encourage you to take notes and keep submitting questions via the chat panel. Also, remember to download the workbook if you haven't already. Today, we're going to look at what success looks like for you, your business and your team, and how your planning should reflect this. We'll dive into some strategies to grow your profit and cash flow to help you maximize the outcomes for all, to promote sustainable success. Then we'll look at how we can help your business with some free tools and additional support options before answering any questions. The first thing I'll share were your responses when you registered for this webinar to the question, what is success for you? I loved all of these responses. Happy family, happiness, being able to travel, giving back, financial freedom. Now that we see what success looks like for us as a community, I ask you all to type in the chat one word for what do you think are the current challenges that we face to obtain these goals? Pre-COVID, success may have meant something very different to you. You may have had growth plans which have been disrupted. Given the change that COVID has brought, some have fallen into the trap of working harder and burning themselves out in this pursuit, when in reality, there are other ways to potentially have your cake and eat it too. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to refer to an example business, a gym called The Rock, which is owned by a fictitious husband and wife, Dwayne and Jane. The principles will be equally relevant for your business. In our example, let's say Dwayne and Jane originally wanted to achieve 100,000 profit, but were working long hours to get there. Now they're thinking that more time with family is more important and are wondering if they can achieve that success with a lower level of profit, say 80,000. Remember that the business is there to serve you, not the other way around. By redefining what success means to you personally, it's possible to build a plan around how the business delivers that. Defining what success means to you allows you to define what success looks like for your business. But we mustn't stop there. We also need to define what success looks like for our team. A happy and engaged team is not only good for them, it's great for business too. Throughout this webinar, we're going to flesh out how to create the new definition of success for you, your business and your team, using Dwayne and Jane's gym as the example. So let's start with your definition of success. In other words, what you want your business to deliver to you personally. We refer to your definition of success in a section of your business plan called What We Want to Achieve. We refer to 4 things here. Your hours of work. Do you really need to work such long hours? Can you spend more time with the family and still get by financially? In our example, Jane would love to have Dwayne at home more to help with the children. The second part is your role in the business. Are there things you do at work that could be done by others to free up your time? In our example, Jane would love if someone else could do the GST preparation, so she can get her evenings back to watch Netflix. Number 3 would be the cash you take from your business each week or month. If you reduce your cash demands, your business will be able to survive on lower turnover, or alternatively, you can employ or contract other people to do tasks you've done yourself so that you can free up some time. Remember in our example, where the cash demands may have been 100,000 in the past, maybe we can bring that back to 80,000 for Dwayne and Jane. Now, the good part, the holidays you want to take, where, when, and how long for. So just as it is for Dwayne and Jane, your definition might be quite different to what it was pre-COVID. What do you need to be happy? Maybe you can get by on less cash from the business, and in so doing, take some pressure off yourself. A personal budget helps us understand whether or not you can get by on less cash from the business. If you can make personal savings, you'll reduce the cash flow strain on the business. No doubt you've made savings during the various lockdowns, or you've changed your spending priorities. Can these savings continue? Hopefully you haven't increased spending online too much, especially if your business is under pressure. We have a complimentary personal budget template you can use to ensure you don't miss any expenses. Simply look at your bank statements online to see what you typically spend in a month. Go back 3 or 4 months to review your expenses and ensure your budget is realistic. I'll tell you, even as an accountant, I did this recently, and it was a really excellent exercise in looking at how we are spending our personal money. In our example, Dwayne and Jane have determined that they can make things work on 80,000. Dwayne is going to cut down on what he spends on supplements, and Jane is going to go walking with her friends instead of going out for lunch each week. They're also going to have a camping holiday locally to reduce costs. Personal budgeting is a hugely empowering process. Once we're clear on what success looks like for us as owners of the business, it's time to translate that into business success. If we go back to our example in the past, Dwayne and Jane wanted the business to deliver 100,000 to them each year. Having done their personal budget, they identified that they can make things work for their family on 80,000. I'll show you shortly what an impact this can have on your minimum viable sales level. Success for the Rock Gym can then be built around achieving a lower sales level. Alternatively, they could reinvest those savings into the business on things such as more support in marketing, finance, or administration to free up their time to work fewer hours. Let's look at an example. Let's talk about what minimum viable sales actually means. You may have heard people define break-even sales as the level of sales at which your income equals your costs. In our definition, break-even or minimum viable sales is the level where you get sufficient cash from your business to meet your definition of success. If the costs equal the sales, you'll have nothing to live off, which is clearly not a smart strategy. As in our example previously, Dwayne and Jane's plan to achieve a profit of $100,000. They know their overheads are $125,000, so that means their gross profit needs to be $225,000. If they have gross profit percentage of 50% in their gym, their annual sales need to be $450,000. If they're only open 46 weeks per year, then their break-even or minimum viable weekly sales number is $10,000. Let's look at their revised plan with the $80,000 profit figure. If overheads stay the same, let's say $125,000, then they need a gross profit of $205,000 at a 50% GP percentage. So their revised annual sales and minimum viable sales figures are $410,000 and $9,000 respectively, which is a 10% reduction in sales. With a new plan to invest an extra $20,000 in support with marketing and finance, which could result in a lift in gross profit percentage by 2%, Dwayne and Jane can still get by with that 10% reduction in sales. That has got to give them a better lifestyle. Once you've worked out your minimum viable sales, it's time to put some goals together to achieve those new numbers. Using our example before, Dwayne and Jane need to set some SMART goals about how to achieve that sales number of $9,000 per week. An example might be to attract 10 new customers per month. We can then create specific actions to achieve that goal, remembering that each goal and action needs to fit into this SMART format. This forms the basis of your wider plan. Let's look at how this all flows together. At the Rock Gym, Dwayne and Jane have defined their core purpose, or why their business exists for their customers, as helping you become a true badass. For those of you who know The Rock Johnson, you're going to pick up a few of his famous quotes here. They want the gym to be associated with their vision of peak personal health. Their definition of personal success is defined in the what we want to achieve, which is 80,000 profit. Jane reduced her hours by delegating marketing and finance, and Dwayne also reduced his hours, and together they're having a family holiday. They've done their personal budget and know they can achieve their personal definition of success with 80,000 profit, which translates to annual sales of 433. We calculated this earlier. So the high-level budget gives us the key performance indicators, or KPIs, that Dwayne and Jane need to measure on a daily and weekly basis to make sure they're on track. You can see this section as the minimum viable sales and gross profit percentage, as well as increasing the number of new inquiries per month and the conversion rate of inquiries to new members. They also need to monitor their member retention rate and the average amount members are spending. You can see that these KPIs also link to their opportunities, vulnerabilities, and most critical challenge. It's important to have a measurable indicator so you know if you're on track to achieving your vision of success. The second page of this plan is a 90-day action plan, which records goals for the year and then breaks them down into 90-day goals and actions. The minimum viable sales number and the gross profit margin have been converted into a SMART annual goal. The first 90 days is all about the actions Dwayne and Jane will take to ensure they have a robust system to measure if they are on track to achieving their business definition of success. It's super important here that the plan becomes a reality and doesn't sit in the bottom drawer. The other one-year goals all link back to how the business can deliver on Dwayne and Jane's revised definition of success about reduced hours and the level of personal spending. It's important to note here that the changes Dwayne and Jane are making might not have immediate results on cash flow. For example, they're going to spend the first quarter contracting a marketing person and outsourcing their finance responsibilities. So you'll see a 90-day goal here is to reduce debtor days from 32 to 22, which will give them a much needed cash injection within the next 90 days. I'll show you shortly the impact this will have on their cash flow. So we talked about your personal definition of success and how to reflect that in your business plan, so your business can achieve the level of success you need it to. At the same time, it's always important to look at strategies to grow your profit and improve your cash flow. We often refer to a traffic light analogy. Often there are just as many things you need to stop doing, the red lights, as there are that you should continue doing, the amber light, and start doing, the green light. I encourage you to share in the chat panel a stop, continue, or start strategy you have implemented over COVID to grow your profit. For example, a red light activity might be to stop working for customers who don't pay or don't respect your core values. Or you might want to stop doing your own GST as it impacts your evenings, just as Jane has decided to do in our example. An amber light activity might be to continue revising your prices to reflect any increases in costs you're experiencing from your suppliers. A green light activity might be to update your personal budget and business plan and start regularly monitoring your results against your plan. Please write this down, and I think this is a big learning that I've learned over the years. What you can say yes to is defined by what you say no to. Remember, your revised definition of success is about you working smarter, not harder. Let's look at the impact a few changes can have on your profit using what we refer to as the growth equation. The growth equation focuses on profit. Here's one example for the Rock Gym. Pre-COVID, Dwayne and Jane had plans to grow their profit from $76,000 to $100,000. Let's look at how they were planning to get to that profit. Note, we've simplified this example by calling one annual membership one transaction per year. The reality is that each member will have multiple transactions. Example, buying food and drinks on each visit. Hence, how we've shown the increase in transaction value. They were planning to lift client retention by 5%, increase leads to 10 per month, get better at converting those prospective customers, and lift average transaction value by $50. Maybe by encouraging customers to buy a drink after each session. To drive the growth and check they were going to stay to plan, they allowed for additional marketing investment. They also engaged their accountant to help with planning, forecasting, and reporting. Now, here's our example for the Rock Gym reflecting Plan 2. This was the second smarter plan of getting to profit of $80,000. Dwayne and Jane's new plan is to get by on $80,000 as opposed to $100,000, because in the current climate, customer retention will drop by 5%. Therefore, striving for a growth in retention to 85% is no longer realistic. Now they still plan to increase leads to 10 per month, but recognize that it will be harder for them to lift their conversion rate. So have kept that unchanged as opposed to the 5% increase planned before. They now only need to lift the average transaction value by 40 as opposed to 50. They're also going to revise their prices for food and drinks and review the staffing levels for gym classes to increase margin by 2%. To make sure they stay to plan, they can still afford to engage their accountant to help with planning, forecasting, and reporting. They can still also afford the additional marketing investment. Let's look at how small changes to cash flow can also help at this time. Ultimately, cash is king, and you want your cash conversion cycle to be as short as possible. The more cash you have in your business, the stronger, more resilient it will be. Technically, if you increase cash by collecting debtors, your net assets don't improve, as debtors go down and cash goes up. However, the higher your debtors are, the more risk there is of non-payment. The quicker you convert your debtors and inventory into cash, the better. If you can negotiate better terms for payment of suppliers, you can preserve your cash flow for longer. Care is needed here though, as in the current economic climate, slow payment of suppliers puts a real drag on the economy. What's important is to come to an agreement with suppliers. For example, they might agree that you only pay when you're sold the item to your customers. You must also look at how long it takes for your stock or work in progress to be invoiced. Again, the quicker the better. Consider whether you need to hold so much stock or if you can issue progress invoices to reduce the number of jobs you have on the go at once. Make sure you're also keeping a close eye on how long it's taking for your debtors to pay you. There are so many things you can do to get paid faster, like updating your terms of trade, automated or repeating invoicing, or simply chasing up your slow payers with a systemized process of credit manager. Let's look at some examples based on Dwayne and Jane's gym. At the Rock Gym, debtors are currently $35,000, as Dwayne and Jane have been too busy to chase up the slower payers. Monthly subscription payment reconciliations are not done, and some members move on without paying their outstanding balances. With sales at their current level of $402,000, it means it's taking an average of 32 days for debtors to pay, even though their terms of trade and invoices say 7-day payment terms. So immediately a plan is needed to fix this problem and bring some much needed cash into the business. They've met with their accountant for a one-off cash improvement meeting and they've identified clear actions to take. The new plan has a target to bring debtor days down to 10 to 22 days. To do this in their cash improvement meeting, they agreed that they'll check if each member is up to date when they sign into the gym and start phoning and emailing debtors as well. They'll be monitoring the results as part of their monthly management reporting service. By doing this, debtors are expected to reduce to 24K within 2 months. This will free up over 10,000 right when Dwayne and Jane need it most. An alternate strategy also considered was to put all members on a direct debit plan, thus reducing their debtors potentially to zero. However, they have decided to defer this action to next year once lockdowns are over and they can prepare a change plan for their members around this new payment method. Now that we've redefined success for Dwayne and Jane and their business, we need to do the same for their team. On a basic level, your team's needs are very similar to your own as business owners. They need security over what their hours are and some flexibility where possible to have a balance that supports a healthy and happy lifestyle. They also need security over their salary or wages and clarity of when and where they can take holidays and any other perks you may offer. Your people are your greatest asset, with the risk of burnout higher than ever and unique pressure on the job market causing a severe shortage in workers. Never has it been more important to support your team to have success in their roles and beyond. This diagram is based on content from Vern Harnish. There are 4 decisions driving growth in every business: people, strategy, execution, and cash. We've looked at how Dwayne and Jane can execute a better strategy or plan. This is how they'll set the vision and focus for their team. One of the key decision focuses directly on people because it's critical to attract and retain the right people. However, the team also contributes in the remaining key areas, execution and cash. Your team is critical. Their happiness, including the overall culture of your business, is as important as the strategy itself. Now let's look at the 4 disciplines of a healthy business. These are the 4 disciplines of a healthy business. It starts with developing a cohesive leadership team. For Dwayne, Jane, and all business owners, this equates to a leadership team that has built trust, mastered tactical conflict, achieved commitment, embraced accountability, and focused on results. Next, you need to create a true clarity for the team. There are 6 elements of clarity. 1, why your business exists, also known as your core purpose. 2, how your business behaves, which can be defined by your core values. These are the guidelines, principles for how we make decisions and how we treat each other and our customers. 3, what your business does relates to how you deliver on your purpose. 4, how your business will succeed in what you've recorded in your business plan. 5, what's important right now are the 90-day actions you've identified in your plan. And 6, who must do what is also recorded in your plan, as well as when it must be done. These elements of clarity not only help your team better understand the game plan, they provide cultural guidelines to uplift workplace culture and ensure every team member is a team player and on board with executing the plan together. On the flip side of that, every time a team is distracted or disrupted by confusion or internal conflict, that is not constructive. We eat into our productivity and bottom line. Clarity over what success looks like for your business is the first step in creating a great company culture. Your team want to see how their role and responsibilities are connected to your vision for the company, how they're helping to make an impact. Then we simply need to over-communicate the clarity and reinforce it, acting as the chief repeating officer in our businesses. It's up to Dwayne and Jane to constantly reinforce why and how they're helping their customers become true badasses. We help our clients define these elements of clarity when creating a business plan. We also have a culture card template we can provide you, which will give you a starting point for creating some of this clarity, as well as strategies for communicating and reinforcing it. Now that we've addressed the high-level things we as business owners can do to set our team up for success in their roles, how can we support our people's individual success? Individuals thrive individually. While the status quo may work well for many of our team members, we should recognize that everyone has a different ideal working environment. Where possible, offer different start or end times and remote working arrangements. Some people do their best work early in the day or in the evenings, so there are benefits to your business of doing this. Consider offering a shorter working week for the same pay. This is becoming more and more common as the data tells us people who work fewer hours are less burnt out, more productive, and more loyal to their employers. Or just throw your team a long weekend on you from time to time. I'm hearing plenty of businesses are doing this currently. Be sure to give everyone plenty of notice so they can maximize this time. There's a massive shortage of workers right now. We need to ensure we are employers of choice because the cost of recruiting new team members far outweighs the investment in our people, of which there are other clear benefits. Encouraging study or extended leave options is also a great way of demonstrating your commitment to your people and their passion outside of work, some of which will add value to your business. We actually want our people to have a life outside work. This ensures they're fresh, motivated, productive, and have had blue sky thinking opportunities, which could lead to valuable innovation in your business. So ask the question of your people to establish what matters to them and how you can help them work around the other things in their life for overall better happiness. Always happy to hear from others what they have tried that worked and did not work regarding supporting your people's individual success. Please share in the chat any successes or learnings you have had in this area. The definition of success for our people has shifted. It could be said that younger generations are leading the way in how we value work in the greater scheme of our lives. Being a flexible employer and helping our team achieve better balance is win-win. It's a win for them and for our business. So we've covered off how to redefine success for you, your business, and your team. Now let's talk about the resources we have available to help you ensure your sustainable success. Here are some suggestions. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first and do a personal budget to see how you can make some savings. Complete our sustainable business success worksheet. And send your team our team member reflection questionnaire to see how they're doing. If you'd like us to send you any of these resources, you can let us know in the feedback survey when you exit the webinar. For those who need more support, our recommended strategy is to work with us to complete an updated business plan. We've been receiving great feedback about how helpful this process is for nailing your strategy and providing clarity for your team. So if you haven't yet done your business plan, now's the time to do this, as it will form a great foundation from which to build your cash flow improvement strategy. It will also help with loan applications if finance is needed. A business planning session can be done as one 4-hour face-to-face session or online over 2 2-hour sessions. You should also prepare a cash flow forecast to reflect the changes your business will be facing. This turns your plan into numbers that can monitor regularly to check you're on track for success. If you need a bit more help to improve your cash flow or profit, we can sit down with you for a meeting to work through the growth equation I shared earlier, as well as identify strategies to improve your cash flow. If you're good at the planning stage, but not so good at following through, I recommend you sign up for management reporting. This means you'll regularly monitor your results and be held accountable for achieving your goals. If you're unsure of your best way forward, or you want to talk to us about how we can work together, we recommend a complimentary meeting to discuss your goals, current problems and challenges. We can then agree the best way we can support you. We know that the benefits you'll get from these services will be far greater than our fee. Most importantly, it's about helping you as quickly as possible and ensuring we're working with you to achieve success for you, your business, and your team. Okay, so we've gone through a lot there, and now we have some time for questions and answers. So it's 1:36. We'll fly through this and have you out of here by 1:45 as we promised. Hope everyone is enjoying this as much as I am. There's a lot of content there, so. All right, if anybody has any more questions, you can type them into the questions and answers into the chat panel and we'll go through those. Before we jump into the first question, I'd just like to ask you a favor to please remember to complete the webinar feedback in the chat panel, which James has put into the chat panel, the link, before you exit. So that helps us to improve our presentations for the future. So James, tell me, Do we have any questions?
Yes, Joanna, we actually have a couple of questions in the chat panel, and we also do have like pre-submitted questions. So we'll cover that first, and if we have time, we'll talk about the other questions.
Yeah.
But the first one, Joanna, is someone said, I love the idea of a revised plan, but I am a bit flat out right now with work, too much work. How do I free up capacity so I can actually do this work?
Yeah, and look, this is something I think all of us will deal with. When I get into this mindset, I try to refer back to the achiever matrix with its 4 quadrants, and I start with what is not urgent and not important, which is the quadrant of waste. Look, I'll be honest here, an example of this is me checking my social media accounts numerous times in a day. Really a waste of time. Then I start to look for what I can delegate or outsource, for example, aspects of marketing or accounting for others. And then the final thing is, and this is good for everybody, but certainly for myself, is being disciplined about putting the time into what's important, but not urgent. As this will save me time in the future, because I know, as Peter Honey, one of the guys in here, always says, automate, systemize, delegate, and those sometimes things are the things that are important but not urgent. I appreciate, look, it's hard to do this when you have urgent and important work to deal with, client work that's pressing, but look, that's in a way why we put together all those resources, which we're happy to share for free, because we want to help everyone to get that time back. All right, James, anything else?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Joanna. And probably to expand on that, another question that comes out or that pops out is in the area of budget. Like I'm concerned, I can't afford to do any of this work. So like, what can you suggest for my situation right now?
Yeah, and I guess I'll reiterate there about the points I made around cash flow improvement strategies, to get some much needed cash flow into the business right away. So if cash flow is tight, maybe perhaps I suggest not doing a full plan, but let's just sit together for a little while and do some cash flow improvement, have a short cash flow improvement meeting. And if that's something that interests people, you just tick that box on the exit survey.
All right. Thanks, Joanna. And another question here from Steve. Could you please provide examples on how you actually have assisted your clients in relation to what you have presented right now?
Yeah, so we've worked with a number of clients, and through the business plan process, there's so many elements of it, but certainly to start with those core values, which then drives the behavior of teams. And I think many of us will be experiencing that there's really a tight, the employees seem to have the power at the moment. There's not a lot of great team players out there, so you really have to hold on to those team players that are valuable to you, and also have this amazing culture, and that really is driven through those values, and the business planning process then drives those values right down into how can you interact with your employees and make sure that their values line up with your values, and how can you make sure that they are achieving that financial freedom or life freedom, whatever it is that they want. One very interesting aspect of the exercise that we do, I guess we are numbers people, but it's so important to get those ideas of what you want to achieve, that 100,000, right down into those 90-day action plans. And that's the beauty of the process that we flow through with the business plans, because it drills right into, okay, these are the actual projects we're going to work on, and then we actually we work out the reality and the numbers of those projects to make sure it's going to deliver that 100,000 or 80,000 in the case of Dwayne and Jane. And that then what we find is that people then just have this clear roadmap and they just can tick it off like a to-do list almost, and inevitably they then hit the target that they're aiming for. So it's been so exciting supporting many of our clients with this process, and what we find is it really escalates their success through having that business plan in place.
Yeah,
Thanks
actually,
for that.
one thing I like about yeah, thank you, and I hope that answers your question, Steve. And I do agree with Joanna. We had several business plans with our clients, and one value we see is how they appreciate the numbers. I guess bottom line is numbers don't lie, and it actually gives them uh, an overview and the bigger picture of what lies ahead. So yeah, um, we
Thanks
do
for
have
that question,
other
Steve.
we do have other questions, but we promised everyone 45 minutes of their time, and we actually do appreciate everyone for sharing that with us. And as our thank you, we actually have free resources available to you as you complete the exit survey. So we hope you fill in those forms so that we can send you what you need right now. So yeah, any parting thoughts, Joanna?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I just want to really thank everyone for attending the webinar. We are so grateful. We appreciate that time is very valuable right now. So I hope I've given you plenty of ideas to think about and some clear options for how we can support you. Before I go, I'll share this last quote, which is, "Nothing is so contagious as enthusiasm." Make a simple plan today, commit to it, at least 3 actions you'll take as a result of being here today. Write them down, give each of them an owner and a completion date. This is a worrying time for many businesses, but it doesn't need to be. You don't need to worry alone. There's a ton of support out there and more to come.
That's right. I think bottom line, we are all in this together. And, the times right now is very challenging, but it's better if we do it together. So just remember to do the quick survey. You can click the button on the screen to answer it, and it will lead you right to the survey. And you can fill in there the support that you require as of this moment, and we'd be happy to provide that for you. So again, thank you, everyone. And we do hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.